To the Fighters Boys Kick-Ass Podcast. Your Fight Talk Authority. Not to mention the most entertaining and talked about podcast with your kick-ass host, Richard ORTIZ.
You mad? Come at me, bro.
And his loyal kick-ass co-host, Senor Cole Escovedo. Streaming live and worldwide. Coming to you all the way live from a little place somewhere in Cali. The Fighters Boys Kick-Ass Podcast.
Good to go? Hey guys, welcome to the Fighter's Voice. We are doing a lot of remote stuff today, just like everybody else in their different industries are. We're mostly just remote, mostly because we're all mobile today. We're all unable to actually make it to the studio. We've all got something really important going on today that we're maintaining and that we are providing today. But we still wanted to bring you, the Fighter's Voice fans, some info, some recaps, some news for the weekend, things to expect from Fight Island, all these different things that are going to be going on, things that have happened, things just to kind of toss out there. Throw a little boxing, stuff at you guys today. But to start off the cap, we've got, some recap of the UFC weekend. We had Cerrone fight, we had Covington fight, we had Woodley fight. Who else? We had, how do you pronounce that cat's name? Kamzat. Kamzat, I want to make sure I'm probably butchering his name. But that guy's been on kind of a tear in the 170s. That kind of went on this weekend. He fought the guy, I think, in like 14 seconds. It was something silly. So let's kind of break down some of that. So Donald Cerrone fought Price this weekend. That fight was probably going to be a loss on a unanimous, if not a split decision for Cerrone. It ended up being a majority draw, which I don't know how approach that and stuff. So he's probably going to have that talk with Donald. Donald has made it very clear he has no plans on retiring, no intention of retiring. But let's be honest, at some point you do have to look at where you're really at in a career. I'm not just talking about Donald in general. Like, you got guys like Cormier that just walked away. You got to really consider where are you at in your career? What can you realistically achieve with the remainder of the shelf life you have? And like I said, what are you looking to achieve, and what is that reachable? Because some things might be like, I've got these goals that I want to reach in the UFC. Cool. Are you still in a position in the sport and your own like shelf life? Are you able to still achieve those goals? Can you achieve it with the said shelf life you have left? So at some time you do have to ask yourself, is that an achievable goal? His heart may be in it, but like at some point, like I think he's like 38, I think Cerrone's like 38 or 37, something like that. You got to start considering where you're at, how many wars you've been in, how much long-term abuse you've taken on your body, the constant training, the constant camps, the abuse, the fights. You just got to kind of consider that stuff. And the overall shelf life of a fighter is small as it is. You start adding in a guy that fights as aggressively and heavy-handed as Cerrone does and most of his opponents, you're looking at a lot of, damage, like Vanderlei Silva. Maybe not as bad as Vanderlei Silva, to say, but it's still something that he needs to be objective about. I'm not saying be realistic, because I'm not saying that he's being unrealistic. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying objective, an objective view is something that might be looked at. Because unless he's hurting for the money, which I don't know what Donald's finances are. That's none of my business. Then maybe you push your shelf life a little, or take fights maybe when you shouldn't be anymore. I don't know. And I'm not saying he shouldn't. I'm just saying it's definitely time to look, because this is like the 4th or 5th loss in a row for Cerrone. That's a lot. For a guy like Cerrone, he kind of had a roller coaster right here and there, up and down, but he'd win a couple, lose one, win a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose one. A little bit of a roller coaster. Now it's just kind of been like, you have to evaluate the stock at some point and really decide whether or not this is something you want to be doing anymore. There's a lot of fighters that are making that decision and just deciding what they really want from the remainders of their, of their life, and it's fighting it. 5 losses in a row, though, that's something you really got to sit back and look at and be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? If you don't want to look at the consideration of retirement, or that it might be it, you have to look at, what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep coming to the same results? It's not like he's fighting slouches. He's not fighting tomato cans. He's not necessarily fighting the top of the crowd anymore either. My next concern is that Cerrone ends up in this like gatekeeper status, where that's the only thing he is. He's a stepping off stone, which, who was it that said it the other day? They said it in an interview. It was, I just watched the interview today. It'll come to me, but he was saying that everybody is a stepping off stone for somebody, for some particular point in their career. You're a stepping off stone for someone. It's just the way it is. So when you have to really consider that stuff, you got to make sure that, like, you're not overlooking the obvious, that you can end up a gatekeeper status without trying to. And that's not where you want to end up. It's definitely not where I want to see a guy like Cerrone end his career, is in a gatekeeper status position where you're either beating up guys that aren't ready for a title shot, or you're just getting fucking crushed by dudes that are on their way to the title shot. Like, I just don't want to see Cerrone end up in that status is a concern. So Reyes, it was Dominic Reyes, that's who said it. He was doing an interview today about getting ready for Fight Island, and they were asking him, what do you think about him considering you a stepping stone? He doesn't consider anyone a stepping stone, even though he said that he considers everybody is a stepping stone. There's just nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen in your career. So like I said, with the majority draw at this point, I think Cerrone really needs to reevaluate, where is he in his career? Where does he see himself in his career? Where does his team see himself in his career? And they need to be objective and honest as possible too. Remember, you don't want to get surrounded by a bunch of yes men who are just going to tell you, oh, no, you should still be fighting. Don't listen to anybody, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they should be telling you, hey, bro, maybe this time you got off the saddle. Go if he's an adrenaline junkie, go do skydiving, go do NASCAR, go do Formula fucking One. But at some point, you need to consider 5 losses in a row, whether you want to retire or not. Is that something that you should be considering objectively? That's where I see the Cerrone picture. Woodley this is his 3rd loss, but it just doesn't seem like Woodley is all that necessarily into it anymore, if that makes any sense. I think beating Covington was something within his grasp, but I think he just doesn't. I don't think his eye is on the gold of the belt anymore. I think maybe his focus isn't just on other things, and he's just not about the fighting right now. That's just not his priority right now. And I don't blame him. Sometimes fighting doesn't become a priority for fighters in their life, and other things become a priority, and they both require your attention and your energy and stuff. So sometimes you got to decide where it is. And I just don't think his heart is in fighting right now. That's 3 losses in a row. Now, albeit against top guys, I honestly thought that Covington was going to be a guy that he should be able to beat. Now, I'm not saying that would be an easy win, but I think Woodley possesses a striking power enough to beat Covington, especially having, had a broken jaw. That does make your jaw more susceptible. That's just what it is. But it's just that I don't think Woodley really, showed up to that fight. And Dana said he's probably considering, then having that conversation with Woodley as well. Do I think Woodley would do better elsewhere? I don't think it's the organization that people need to consider on whether or not he'll still be successful. It's a matter of just, does Woodley himself want to continue to be, successful, or whatever you want to call it, within, MMA and the UFC in general? Because let's be honest, you can go to Bellator, you could go maybe to one and maybe make equal or less money, not get that great of sponsorship deals. The competition would be somewhat easier, substantially, given the pedigree of that weight class. And I don't think it's going to change anything, though, because I don't think going to another organization is really going to make a difference on whether or not his heart is in it. His heart's either fucking in it or it's not. It's like being on a date. You're either interested in the date or you're not. It's just, if it's a bad date, it's a bad date. It's going to be painful till the end. So that's where a lot of guys who have considered, they're on the multi-fight loss streak, you need to really consider, where are you at in the sport? Where do you want to be? Can you still achieve where you want to be? Sometimes you have to be realistic about your goals. And again, this isn't me saying anything like Cerrone, don't go around saying, Escovedo said that Cerrone and Woodley, they should be tired, they're done. Hey, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. What I am saying is that there comes a time in your career where, when you're on your 5th loss in a row, your 3rd loss in a row, you do need to evaluate whether or not your heart's still in it. Is this still what you want to do for a living? Have you done for a living what you wanted to do for a living? And is it time to move on to something else? Like, that's That's being honest with yourself, objective with yourself, being honest to your team, being honest to your coaches, your sponsors, because let's be honest. Do you really want to fight when your heart's not in anymore and take sponsor money and spend it knowing that you're not going to go out there with the heart anymore to achieve gold and take their brand with you? Think about that. You know, they're trusting you with their money and their brand and hoping that attaching themselves to you will benefit themselves as well. That's why they're sponsoring you. Some will say, yeah, they're doing it because they want to support their guy. Oh, I know my guy, you know, he's my best buddy and I have the business, so I'm going to sponsor him. True. But at the same time, business-like in the back of their brain, whether they're aware of it or not, they're going to attach themselves with you. A, with support, but B, because your success will have inevitably become some of success for them. When you do well, their brand gets out there more. There's more exposure for their brand. So you're kind of doing them a disservice by taking their money as a sponsorship when you know your heart's not in it anymore. Okay? So just think about that for a sec, guys. If your heart's not in it, you really aren't there to win anymore. You're just taking their money and just, you know, fucking them. So just something to bear in mind when you see guys on these streaks and stuff, and when considering, you know, being objective about it. What else? Oh, Michael Chandler. Okay, he became free agent from Bellator. He's Bellator's 55 guy. I think he was a 45-pound champ and moved up, or he was the 55-pound lightweight champ, and he's relinquishing, or he lost the belt and wants to move on or something. But he's a free agent, and the UFC signed him. The only part I don't really like about that is that he automatically is the backup for Khabib and Gaethje over on Fight Island. He's going to be the backup that week. He will make weight. He will be on standby. He will be in quarantine. He will be at the island. He will be there in case Khabib or Gaethje cannot fight that night. If Khabib can't fight, it's obviously not going to be a title fight. If Gaethje can't fight, Chandler will find himself in a very unique spot, similar to Joe Soto when he was going to fight on a prelim match, and then he had to go, and they offered him the Dillashaw title fight. You know, that basically, like, I think the night before, I think it was like the night of weigh-ins or something, is when they offered it to him. So they offered him that fight in the exception that, hey, you know, do us and we'll take care of you down the road. So I think that would be where Chandler finds himself. I just don't agree with him the fact that it would be his first fight with the UFC, and I'm not a fan of your first fight being a title fight. I don't care if you came from another organization. Nor should you, nor should the fan. But don't let me tell you what you should care about, because that's what the fuck I matter. I'm the jackass with the mustache. It doesn't matter what I think. But what should matter to you as a fan is that the rankings no longer matter. We can all agree on that. Fucking, I don't even know why they attach rankings anymore. It doesn't matter. Just own it. Own that your rankings don't matter, guys, and just fucking go with it, okay? But to have a guy come in and his first fight is potentially a title shot, that doesn't really, that's kind of like a real spit in the face to anybody else in that weight class that should be online for a title shot. Realistically, if somebody is online for a title shot next, they should be the ones that should be at Fight Island. They should be the ones having to make weight. I would rather see Ferguson. Yeah. I'd rather see like Ferguson or Poirier on standby for a belt shot like that than to have Chandler. Because at least those guys have proven to be in the top running against similar competition within their organization. Like, they've proven to be at the top of the crop when it comes to that organization. So why isn't one of them being told, hey, you're going to make weight and go to Fight Island, you are going to be the backup? Why is it this guy that just gets to come in? Granted, I understand Chandler's a great fighter, but he's not a great fighter in the UFC yet. So why does he get this automatic jump? At Dana White. So that's really the only one. Him and Shelby are really the only ones who can kind of answer that stuff. I don't know. The logic just doesn't make sense in my head. But I get that the UFC figures we got this new signee. Okay, treat it like a football team, I guess. You got this new wide receiver. You just signed him. He's a free agent. We just signed him. Fuck, of course we're going to start that motherfucker. Of course we're going to start him. We just signed him. I don't blame them except for the fact that it's a spit in the face to other guys in that weight class that have shown themselves to be competitive against top pedigree within your organization. One of them should be that guy. Yes, I understand. I just made the NFL comparison, and the logic, it makes sense. Why not use Chandler? But MMA is a different beast altogether. It just is. You should have to earn your title shot. You shouldn't be able to do good in one organization and come over and just automatically get a title shot. Similar to like Jones moving up to heavyweight. That is a champion in that organization, proving himself in that organization, moving up to another weight class. Should he be a title shot? Sure, if his first fight in that weight class, okay, in that weight class is a title shot, sure. Should he be automatically be able to just skip anyone else that's already been told title shot? No, that's why Francis Ngannou is getting the next title shot against Stipe. Should Jones have been allowed to fight Stipe first? No. That would be a spit in the face to Francis Ngannou, who's on a win streak and has earned it and deserves his crack at it. And if he's going to lose to Stipe, he's going to lose. Let him lose. This is a different scenario. You're taking a guy from another organization who's doing well. Don't get me wrong. He's doing great. Great fighter. He's doing well in another organization against a different caliber of opponent. Make him prove himself at least one time. Fuck, at least once. Have him fight Ferguson. Have him fight Poirier. Have him fight one of those guys. Same page? Have him fight one of those guys first. Then, if he wins, then fuck it. Yeah, throw him a bone. Throw him a title shot. Fuck it. I don't care. You're doing so much circus crazy shit as it is. Why not? Rankings don't matter, so why not? But this a guy coming from another organization, well-versed or not, should not get to come in and have the scenario of automatically being in contention for probably either the title or what will probably just end up being called the interim title. Because they're not going to have Gaethje fighting for no belt. They'll have him fight for the interim, which, by the way, interim belts are the dumbest fucking thing on the planet. Oh, God, interim belts make no sense. You have a title holder and a title contender. You have title fights and you have title eliminator fights. Title eliminator fights gets the next shot. What the fuck is the point of an interim belt? Have a vacated spot. There's nothing wrong with an empty belt slot for your promotion. This is where everyone gets so weirded out. Like, we have to have an interim fucking No, you don't. You don't have to have an interim title holder. You do not have to have an interim title holder. Have a champion or an empty slot that people can line the fuck up for and fight for. Have a tournament. What is wrong? What is wrong with the days of having a tournament? Fucking do it on Fight Island. Do it. You know you guys will be down to watch that. A one-night tournament on Fight Island whenever a vacant title spot comes up. No more interim title shit. If you're up for the belt and the belt holder all of a sudden it's injured, cannot defend, and they have to relinquish the belt, cool. Multi-man tournament night. You want the belt, prove it. That way, since your rankings don't mean shit, you can have a guy who's like number 7 fight in the tournament and try to get himself the belt that night. Why not? Why not? Injuries are a concern, yes. And that's everyone's go-to when it comes to one-night tournaments and why they don't work. Okay. And you have one night where everybody that's in line for that belt has their semifinal fight. Then, and you sprinkle in a couple other fights on that same card that have nothing to do with that belt. Okay? Then, fuck it. If no one's hurt, then you guys schedule like the following month, maybe a week or two later, Yaz Fight Island, those same guys. Or you have to fight every week. And if you get hurt, fuck it. Sorry, you're out. That sucks. Thanks for playing. Like, that should be how a one-night tournament should work. If you get hurt, fuck it, sorry. Or you're hurt, don't tell no one. Keep it to your fucking self. Man up. How bad do you want that belt that night? It's not like the injury's not going to get fixed. And if it's that bad that you can't fight, then you can't fight. Suck it up like a man and bow out of the tournament. Like, there needs to be more fight mentality approach to filling these vacant spots. Just creating an interim belt just to have a belt holder is just silly. Like, get over this fear. Let go of this fear that as a promotion, you have to have a belt holder at that time. Get over that fear. Let it go. Let it go. I'm telling you. Let the belt spot stay vacant if it's vacant. Let it stay vacant. Have a tournament for the belt. I just don't. And at the end of the day, if you have a tournament and you come up with a champion and the belt holder wants his spot back, then maybe he gets first crack. When he's ready, he gets an automatic shot at the title holder. That way he has a right to fight and get his title back. I get it. Oh, Cole, you shouldn't lose your title because you're hurt. I get it. But again, suck it up, buttercup. You can either pick up the injury and you can defend your title like a champion, or you cannot defend your title and you have to relinquish it. But the clause will state that once you're ready to fight and you can accept the fight, you get a title shot. Regardless of who's in line, I mean, set a time maybe, but there should be a time frame where you get first dibs on fight. It doesn't matter who has the belt. Whoever is title holder at that time, you get first crack at them when you're ready. You don't have to fight an eliminator fight. You were champion. Your first fight back, you get a crack at the champion. I don't really see too many things flawed with that. Tell me what you see flawed with that so we can discuss it, guys. Seriously, hear some pros and cons to this idea because there's really not too many cons. You're going to end up with the champion that night. Food for thought on that, guys. So that's my bid on the Michael Chandler thing, the signing with the UFC. I just don't think he should get an automatic. No, I understand. He's just getting the backup. I get that. But the scenario has now been created that his first fight with the UFC will be a title fight. That is a spit in the face to guys that have been waiting and fighting for that title shot. That's all. We talked about Woodley, the injury. Okay. The injury is what caused that loss of fight. The broken ribs. He went for the guillotine, sat up, put pressure, and it popped. That's a serious injury. Again, 3 L's in a row. Something you need to consider. You have an injury now. That injury is more likely to happen again now. You take a hard hit, and those kicks is what's setting that up, by the way. But Covington, great job. You don't have to like the guy, but you have to respect the fact that he came back from getting his jaw broken by Usman, where most guys would have taken like a long time off, got back as soon as he could, got back in there and put on a great performance and got a win. The guy's walking the walk. I don't know really what else to say on that. Kazmat, like I said, he's just crushing dudes at 170. I think he's not necessarily in title shot contention, but I do think he is making a lot of noise and he's not knocking, he's banging on the door. Maybe one more shot and he gets a title shot. I wouldn't have an argument with that. Due to be on it's like 3 wins in a row for him. Well, does Covington deserve a title shot again? I wouldn't. I would be okay with seeing him get another title shot or at least a super money fight for him. That I'd see okay. Let him fight like a Masvidal, get a money shot. Let him welcome Nick Diaz back in early next year. That'd be a good fight to watch. Those guys are both down to scrap. So I'd be down to see that. What else in news? We threw enough MMA news at you guys, so I got some boxing news for you. I told you I got some boxing news for you. As far as boxing news goes, we've got the Charlo brothers, Jermall and Jermell Charlo. Both of those guys, these are like twins almost. I saw the fight card for these guys. These guys are pretty cool looking dudes. They are both fighting this weekend. Okay, it is a PBC Premier Boxing Championship card being presented by Showtime on pay-per-view this Saturday, guys. So it's going to be a Showtime pay-per-view card, and it's going to be a Premier Boxing Championship event with these two cats. Now, these are brothers fighting on 2 separate cards, okay, on the same night. 2 separate cards, and they're headlining both of them. Okay, that's some badass brothers is what that is. So you got an opportunity to watch one of these once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunities that, when else are you going to see 2 brothers fight this level of competition on the same night for the same promotion on 2 separate cards on pay-per-view? I'm all ears if you can find it elsewhere, guys. So that's my boxing news that I wanted to throw at you guys, just to give you a little sprinkle, a little salt base, sprinkle you some boxing education on you. But that's about it as far as news goes. Oh, we do have some news coming up for my boy Big Al Gonzalez. Okay, we got some news coming for you. Okay, he is on the right now. Trust me, he is just biting at the chomp. He has already announced that he's got something big coming. He's already announced that he signed his next fight. When, where, who, and what? We're going to bring those to you as soon as he gets permission. I've already talked to Big Al. let's say I came in at 2. I've already got permission from Big Al. We are going to be the guys to drop that for him. As soon as he gets permission, we're going to talk about that. Even if we got to do like a video phone in real quick or something, and then we'll get that audio out to you guys if we got to do that. But we're going to announce when, what, where, and how as soon as he's allowed to drop that knowledge. I already know. I'm just saying. I already know. I'll say it's somewhere I fought before. Okay? The when and where else specifically, though, I cannot tell you. Okay? I'm not trying to throw Big Al under the bus. He's on wrap. He's got lockdown information. As soon as he's told he can release it, he will release it. But I've fought where he's going to fight before. That's all that matters. Okay? So he's got some fight news on the horizon. As soon as we can get that to you guys, we will. Other than that, guys, that's the boxing news. That's the MMA news I wanted to throw at you. Now we're going to move on to what to look forward this weekend before we cut you guys loose. UFC 253. It's a pay-per-view. It's this Saturday. It's going to be headlined by our boy Stylebender, the last Stylebender, and Mr. Acosta. Okay, Paulo Acosta. They're going to be fighting for the belt this weekend. Adesanya, he's had tougher competition, I think, in my mind, as far as the level of danger and versatility. Meaning, I think that Stylebender's previous opponents on title fights have brought more tools in the toolbox. I think Acosta's 13-0. I don't think he has as many tools in the toolbox as people may be giving him the assumed credit for. Do I think he's dangerous? Yes. Do I think he's got knockout power? Yes. Do I think he can knock anybody out with one punch? Yes. Do I think he has enough tools in the toolbox to beat Adesanya? No. Plain and simple. I got Adesanya on this one, guys. In fact, I've got Adesanya on this one by finish. I don't think it'll go to a decision on this one, but I've got Stylebender. Israel's pulling off this one for sure, guys. That's my pick for the main event on that card. You've also got Dominic Reyes fighting Jan Blachowicz. Okay? These guys have been kind of off the radar for a while. Reyes' last fight was a decision loss to Jones, which most people would argue he won. Again, this was one of the fights that I think made Jones look human. Okay, I think a guy like Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, I think those guys made Jones look human, and I think that was one of the contributing factors, in the decision-making factor at least, for Jones wanting to move up to heavyweight. Once you look no longer godlike at your weight class, why not move up to a weight class where you can be the bigger guy again? Okay? If my brothers were both pro football players and they were big motherfuckers, I would genetically want to be a big motherfucker too. I'm in a combat sport. Bigger is better. Bigger is stronger. Just make sure he can move as agile. Take lessons from Connor and his coach on how Connor made that 170 jump look so smooth. He just carried that weight so well now. But that's what I would be doing. So on the Reyes-Blachowicz fights, I've got Reyes. His only loss is a decision loss against the former god John Jones at light heavyweight. Okay? So a decision loss to Jones means that he couldn't put you away, but Jones is just hard to finish. Okay? That's just reality. So I'm going to go with Reyes on this one over Blachowicz. I just don't think Jan's fought enough caliber of opponents on that one. What else do we got on that card? Oh, I got France versus Royval. Hey, Royval has never been finished. Mind you, he's got I think two or three losses, something like that, but they're all decision losses. He hasn't been subbed. He hasn't been knocked out. He has lost, but he hasn't been finished. Okay? So I'm actually taking Royval on that one. I think with his ability to not be finished, I think that's going to make a really big problem for France. I don't think France is going to be able to put him away as easy as he's thinking and move on to hot shots and barbecues that night. So we're going with Royval on this one. And then a little news, you got Diego Sanchez is back in the mix on that same card. He had a questionable win with a February DQ win. His dude kneed him in the face. Obviously, it was a disqualification because Diaz said he couldn't continue. A lot of people questioned it, said, did Diaz take the easy out for the win? Diaz, I apologize. Did Diego take the easy out for a win? Did Sanchez want to be out of that fight? Did he know he was going to lose it? Diego was losing that fight either way. He was either going to lose a decision or he was going to get finished. A lot of people question him taking that W. Like, they question his credibility and things like that, which, I mean, W is a W. If it were me, though, I would have came out right away and been like, hey, that's not how I want to win. I don't really officially consider this a win. I think my opponent screwed up. And then, whatever. I I don't think that's a way to accept the win. I think Stephan Bonner is going to be his cornerman for this fight. They had like a spiritual like journey, if you will, like vision quest type thing. Diego took him on one of his mountain trips, and they talked, they bonded, they both got on the same page about what Diego wants from his career at this point. He's even gone on to say that he's not even shooting for UFC gold anymore. He just wants to experience the last ride on what he said very specifically, by the way, he said was the last 4 fights of his journey. So I think we're going to get 3 more fights out of Diego before we see Mr. Sanchez say goodbye to the MMA world. But I'm curious to see how this goes down. He is sticking to one cornerman again, which remember we talked about that isn't really necessarily the best route to go. But I think Diego heard the critics. I think he heard the criticism. I think he heard the supportive advice of people that want to see him succeed and felt he might be hindering himself. He is still only taking one cornerman, but that is a cornerman that is vastly experienced in MMA, both fighting and cornering and coaching. So that said, I think Diego's chances are much better having one cornerman in than having the guru guy before with 0 experience in my mind. But I think having Stephan Bonner in his corner will give him better opportunities, so to speak. I think having a guy with the experience, having the guy with the motivation, experience, the know-how, I think that will be a benefit to Diego as far as having experience in his corner and people feeling that having someone in your corner is somebody that knows what they're talking about, so to speak. And I want to say it's Stephan Bonner. I'm like 99% sure it's Stephan Bonner. I know it's an ex-Tough alumni with Diego, I think from the same show he was on, but I'm pretty sure it's Stephan Bonner. I might be